All right, everybody. I love what we get to do with this show because we get to talk to very well-informed. Adam and I have talked now for probably an hour. We normally don't do that but in prepping for a show, but it has been over an hour.
Yeah.
And so I apologize for that. But getting to know each other and understand the expertise you have. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our guest today, Adam Calloway, Calloway Insurance Agency.
Yep.
Tell us, Adam, if you would, why did you decide to get into the insurance world? I know a little bit about it, but I want you to tell everybody.
Well, because my mom told me to.
Mom told you to.
She started a business, and several years after she started it, she said, "Hey, I think you'd be a good fit in this business." I said, "I don't know." I was working at Chrysler and felt like I had everything going on. So I started working with her part-time, and then a couple years later, she had gotten cancer, and kind of makes you rethink your values. So decided to go full-time in it. Chrysler was closing down and offered a buyout, so it worked out pretty perfect, and started full-time January 1st, 2009. No turning back. It's been a great experience.
Well, and that's key, because if you're going to enjoy what you do, you might as well feel like you're making a difference. Sounds like you feel like you do get to contribute. And I know that is the case. I mean, I've dealt with insurance. Like we were talking about, I just had a claim recently.
Sure.
Insurance guys came through and did what they were supposed to do. But it's an impact a lot on people's lives. I mean, it's literally, like in some cases, this was a little claim for not much, but sometimes it's $100,000, $200,000, millions of dollars.
Yes.
What is that like? What's it like having that kind of response? With great power,
it's a little more stressful.
Comes great responsibility. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. A lot of times, especially on a business claim, you've got, if it's a property claim, say there's a fire at a building, then you've got loss of income, clients' vehicles, you've got to make sure you have, like an automotive shop, for example, if they catch on fire, you've got clients' cars in there. If they've got to redo the shop, there's employee payroll during that time. There's a fair amount to it. And it's a little more stressful. You walk softly. As an agent, we can't address a lot of it. We have to, again, walk softly with it. So the adjuster, the judge, and the attorney get to make the final decision. So
Right.
we have to make recommendations and help facilitate the claim. But we can't always determine the outcome of it. That's for sure.
Sure. Well, and that's where I say you're more of the don't kill the messenger. Right?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
the guy. So he's the one hooking me up here to make sure I do have the right coverage. But that's where I would get into a little bit of the discussion with regard. I share a little bit of my personal life and personal experiences. A lot of people are familiar with. Some people are not, but obviously. But I share with people. Hey, you understand how important the insurance side of the world can become because of these kinds of issues that come about. A lot of people do know I was hit by a drunk driver back when I was 19 years old. Some people say, well, now we know what happened to you. But
explains a lot.
But I literally, if I did not have such good coverage, because my dad had a good insurance agency guy that he knew for years, he actually went to college with. I'll never forget it, Walt. And Walt has joined my dad. Actually, Walt went there first, and my dad's up there with him. They're watching baseball in the big baseball stadium in the sky together, probably. But they literally did what was right to make sure you had the right coverage. There's so many people that get caught up with, I want the cheapest.
Yeah.
I want to spend as little money as possible. Again, we don't know how the conversation is going to go in these interviews, but I have to tap into give me some of the nitty gritty. I want people to get to know Adam Calloway and why it is you stand out and why you've had such success.
Well, we try to make sure it's a phone call with us to review your insurance is like talking with an old friend. We don't want you to dread it, to hate calling. We have conversations that need to happen. We were talking earlier about can you let somebody drive your vehicle, and what happens if somebody steals it, and does insurance follow you if you're not in a vehicle? Those are all great questions that we would just assume somebody call us and have that conversation. We always get the rental car conversation. I'm going out of town. Should I take the Enterprise's insurance? Well, you don't have to, but if you do, then you don't have a deductible. It doesn't count against your MVR. So there's always things that we can take the conversation a little farther and help you be more educated in the decision that you make.
Well, those are important things to know about, because when you do get into discussions about big ticket things
Oh, yeah.
that literally can make the difference in whether a family can keep their home,
Sure.
or they're going to have their home rebuilt, or sometimes there's major settlements when somebody did something
Oh,
that was
yeah.
very detrimental to the person that was injured, and they either get nothing or they get a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they've been impaired. They've got permanent
Damage.
disabilities, and can't walk, or maybe in a wheelchair.
Sure.
I was in a similar situation with all of that, and we didn't know where it was going to go. I was very fortunate to recover, and so thank you guys. I did recover, but we had good insurance. Very important. All right, so as we discuss this, I mean, there's a lot of information people may want to know. I want to make a quick jump to a little bit of our sponsors that we have here, because we got a little into the conversation, and normally we start off with that, but at any point I reserve the right to give a shout out to the sponsors of our show. And in this case, I want to give you guys a look at our TV wall. And if you enjoy St. Louis, and you know that there's a lot of people that are in your community that make an impact, you must respect and love Carroll House Furniture. They literally have been around for 50 years. Brooke has been running it for about the last 25 or so, maybe 30. I don't know his exact age, but I know he started running the company in his 20s, late 20s, and it just does a great job and helps a lot in our community. With that also, though, then we have our primary sponsor now that has done a great job that I've teamed up with, and we love what they do. And this ties right back into what we're going to talk about, Adam, but USA Mortgage, the Flowers team, Steve Flowers, Emily, I have my mortgage license, and so I work with them, and we actually do a lot to help people get into a house, and then they need insurance. And that's very important. So I wanted to share that with everybody. Shout out to our sponsors. With that, then I want to bring up quickly for everybody to see. You got a good looking website. I always survey the website before we bring people on, because I want to see, hey man, should we put that up for everybody to see or not?
Yeah.
And I haven't had anybody yet really that's had a website that I was just like, no, can't do that. But check it out right here, Calloway Insurance, CallowayAgency.com, and we do have a title up here that I can put up for everybody to see that you are there. There it is, CallowayAgency.com. That's the phone number for you.
It
direct
is.
to your office, right?
Give us a call.
636-305-8320. You're based out of, and you service, what's your primary service area? All of St. Louis? Or?
Metro.
Metro?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So we do Missouri and Illinois. Actually, I live on the other side of the river.
Right. Across the JB Bridge.
Across the JB Bridge
Okay.
on the south side there, yes. So probably a 50-mile radius.
Okay.
From South County.
Yeah, and you can have an insurance agency as long as they're offering insurance from a different state if you have to, right? But Missouri and Illinois, great place to be centered, because St. Louis is right on the border.
Right on the edge.
Both of those wonderful states that very different from one side to the other, different places. Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, all the stuff that we got in the Midwest here. Baseball teams are all pretty good from each one of those cities, especially our Cardinals here, right?
Yeah.
Tell you, you've been in this for a long time. Tell everybody, if you had to name a date when you say you officially decided this was when you were going to start doing this. How long have you been doing this now?
Oh,
full time.
So part-time in 2006 and sometime in 2008.
Okay.
Again, that was when my mom got sick, and it makes you reevaluate things, and thought, hey, it would be a good opportunity. I'd certainly like to spend more time with her. And it's a full-time January 1st, 2009, and no turning back. It's like I said, it's been good. We started in Fenton and have since moved over to South County, over in Afton. Works out pretty good, about a mile from that 9-mile garden. That might be a little too close for me. Get to sample too many different good foods.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, that's a great part of town. A lot of people are familiar with some of my background, and we like to talk about the fun things that do happen in St. Louis, besides the Cardinals, which are obviously the most important thing. We got the World Series trophy around here, the Cardinal Cowboy World Series trophy we can break out for you. But I grew up in Fenton. My mom taught in Afton, still teaches, God love her, and now they've named, there's John Goodman holding my mom's plaque when they named the theater after my mom. So I have spent a lot of time in Afton.
Yeah.
And it's a great little town.
It is.
It's its own little town. I think they just celebrated 150th anniversary. But you're in a great location there, because now you're not too far from the actual city area, but you're also close to the county, and then you can really service everybody. And that's for those people that want to say, I want to sit down with you. Right?
By far.
But I guess there's a lot of people you may not necessarily have to.
Yeah.
How has the business evolved here over the last few years?
Especially COVID, right? It became a little more unique.
That
a lot
thing
of our,
that we don't
a lot of it's been done through email and e-signatures. We still try to get out and meet the clients, so that's the one thing that makes us different, separates us from others. is coming to see you. By no means a doctor, but I have no problem going to anybody's house and putting a face with a name, especially for us.
You specialize, or you have a lot to do with, and something that I know a lot of the related insurance guys, because I've dealt with a number of my years of,
Sure.
I'm a lot older than I look, everybody, if people may understand that, but most everybody, home and auto, little life, commercial is a very important piece. Talk to me why you believe and understand, and help people to understand how important commercial insurance is, because when you're getting into the business world, that's something you do not want to take for granted.
Sure.
For sure.
When I first started, a good friend of mine owns a plumbing company, and they had an employee had taken a van home. The van was stolen from the employee's house. They had coverage for the van, but they didn't realize that they didn't have coverage for the contents of the van, the tools, the equipment, all the fittings, everything else. So they were made whole on the vehicle, but they had to build back up to refit the van for $20,000. And they're paying all this insurance premium, and they're thinking, why wasn't this covered? And again, it goes back to a conversation. And I thought, insurance should give a person peace of mind. We all have to pay it. None of us, I pay the same premium. We get a piece of the commission of it. But that's what always intrigued me, was just take it a step farther and say, hey, in that van, what do you think you have? Which had always led into the commercial side, the contractors, the heating, cooling, the carpenters. They're in situations, they have trailers that they have material and tools in that they leave on job sites, and to make sure that they get made whole and can continue their business. The other part of it was we've always written quite a few dump trucks, also in the excavating, large equipment. And I think that's just the boy in me, the old Tonka trucks, and it's like, man, that's cool. Just a big truck and big equipment. So that's always
I wear a baseball uniform to the Cardinal games.
I hear you. One of these days I'm going to grow up.
That's right. Well, after going through a coma, I don't worry too much. I've had people who do poke a little fun at me periodically, and I just laugh along with them.
Sure.
But that's interesting, because the contracting world is such a big part of our community, and that's kind of your niche. Is that a little bit where you focus a little, help the guys, the contractors out there, plumbers, deck builders, electrician, fencing,
heating, cooling, yeah,
you name it. Okay,
excavating,
and those and a lot of those guys may not realize what all is at stake.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize, but I know that's the case. You've got insurance to help people understand. I think what we're talking about is that you have insurance that covers the vehicle. And the vehicle's valued by, and Kelley Blue Book, or however they determine that.
Actual cash value.
Yeah. But what was in that? And if there's
correct,
some CDs and some CDs. I'm dating myself right there. Do we still play CDs? But you have $500, $1,000. Can some of that might be covered? But it's really like when you got a $30,000 piece of equipment in your truck.
Yeah.
Is that going to be covered? And there's probably some add-ons. What do they call those?
Endorsements. Yeah, riders. Endorsements. Yeah, just separate.
And that's something that makes it. Is that what most of the if you will, most of the contractors don't realize is so critical to what they need to.
Oh, their tools and equipment is.
And they're probably aware of that, but maybe it doesn't always get covered.
Correct. Yeah, and it's pretty. $20 per thousand, and that covers it for the year outside of. It's called inland marine, so it's away from the premise. So when it's on a job site, anywhere, it's a great piece of coverage that they can endorse onto a policy. Typically, it's not the auto policy, even though that's the piece that gets stolen is the vehicle. It's on their general liability, or their package, or their business owner's policy that we endorse it onto.
And could be more important than covering the automobile, because they could find another way to get to the job, maybe.
Yeah.
But if they don't have any equipment to do the work, they're between a rock and a very, very hard place.
Some of those old white vans might be a $5,000 van, but it's got $30,000, $40,000 in tools in it. So
right.
It's just a means to an end to get them to the job.
So what do you think it is you do best along the lines of commercial that helps you to really provide such a good agency that makes people want to continue to use you and grow your business so you can stay in business and to help more people?
Well, the commercial side, I'm a relationship person. So contractors usually need more certificates. There's more frequency of contact. So if something's changing, they may say, hey, man, business has been crazy. I had to add 2 guys. And in my head, I think, maybe we need to look at adjusting the work comp to account for that so you don't have a big audit at the end of the year. And just in conversation, just pick up on things. So the contracting side has always been a little smoother and easier to catch in conversation. Again, not that I'm trying to always sell them something, but listen to protect them at a later date, because sometimes the workers' comp, that when you get an audit on that, especially if you add a couple of employees and you're in the contracting field, it catches your attention and makes that conversation awkward.
Well, now you bring up something that makes me realize how many businesses, they go out of business because the business was not run the way it should have been run. But one of those key elements is to running a business correctly is make sure you've got that proper coverage, so that when something does happen, that they're not going, I had to shut down the business because I didn't have the materials necessary to replace what happened because I didn't even have the right insurance.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you can blame somebody. I know people, it's like you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics, and you don't talk about insurance. It seems like, I don't want to throw that one in, but I mean, it's just not the most common thing that people enjoy talking about. But it is so much, I mean, talk about politics if you want to, that's kind of fun, but it gets you out of trouble. Talk about religion if you want to, same way. But you need to talk about the insurance because of the vital things that we talk about that help businesses sustain. And if stuff happens, I mean, is that kind of another benefit that people have from working with Calloway? Is because agencies allow, explains to people to understand the difference between an agency versus what do they call it, captive.
Yeah. So a captive agent only has that market. If we're going through changes right now. Carriers are having to take price increases. Home values have gone up. Auto values have gone up. Premium is, most cases are going up above inflation. So we can move a client from one carrier to the next, keep them as a client, we'd continue to service it, but still provide them the best coverage and price that we're able to do. To where a captive agent is going to start reducing coverages to reduce premium. We don't have to do that. You typically, not 100%, I wish I could say 100%, every client, that doesn't turn out quite that way, but majority of clients we're able to find another solution for them with, in-house. We've got over a dozen home and auto carriers and probably 8 or 9 commercial carriers that we can address that with.
Wow. And it's just so much, there's advantages on both sides, I guess, but
Yeah.
I have always seemed to find, not to play any bias just because Adam's sitting here and he's an agency, but you have more options.
Yes.
And you can even offer some of those other big national companies, and you just become a kind of a part-time agent for them. You get paid on it just like they do, but you're not held to just that one option.
Yeah. So
which can be very limiting.
Correct. And there's things, every carrier would prefer that if somebody called us and they said, hey, we had a storm come through, I think something's wrong with my roof. We recommend them to call a roofer. We don't turn it into the company right away. If there's a claim, we'll turn it in, but a lot of times it can be addressed by a couple $100 flashing repair, and that's a whole lot better than making a claim on your homeowners for weather. So, and weather is the best claim to make. I'm not promoting it. But it's much better than fire or water.
Right. No, that's a great point. Yeah, a lot of people, they get stuck in these situations where they're a hail damage storm has come through, and the roof has got some major damage, and the roof is a $15,000-$20,000 to replace.
Yeah.
But you better have a shout out to my roofing guys. We've had a number of the roofing guys on here that are great guys, and now you can really dig into some of those guys because they really share with what they do. And that's why we decided to have you on, Adam, is to talk about some of the ways you can really get to know who it is you're working with.
Sure.
A lot of people are familiar with, hey, I can be on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and maybe a quick 30-second commercial on TV if some people would be so excited as to do that. But you don't ever really get to know who you're dealing with. And that's really what we wanted to help emphasize here, because we need people on to really explain who they are. So now they can watch this on their YouTube or their Facebook or whatever, but you can share this out there. You get a nice little video. You can people get to know you. Tell me what it is that really fuels your passion. If you had, and I think we might have talked about it a little bit, but dig into that if you would a little bit for me. What it is that you really enjoy most about being an insurance guy?
It's just the service aspect. Any part of the service industry, whether you're engaged in something in the community or your church or whatever, it always ends up helping people. And I know things in my world go better when I put myself second, third, fourth. Somebody else much farther ahead of me. And this allows me to do that.
All right. Well, a lot of times we do then go dig in a little bit. I'm going to put up here for everybody to see. And while we're talking, they'll see the TV wall.
Okay.
We're going live with the TV wall here. We built the wall. It's a different kind of wall, but this wall allows us to put big pictures up on the wall. This was 9 50-inch televisions. Yes, Cardinal Calloway built this himself. Little help. the judge did deliver a couple of the TVs. But other than that, I was putting each one up, and you got to get these things so close together. But that's how you can make it look kind of cool, like you see in our studio here in our secret location, where you can kind of dig in there. But with that, I'll put this up for everybody. Tell me, we covered a few things I thought were important about your website that help people to realize. So now that everybody can see the website up there, and we're off camera now, so you can go, and if you got to fix your hair or whatever you need to do, let us know. But
very high maintenance that way.
Right, that's right. Well, I've learned to keep the hair short too, because it keeps it. But right on here, so CallowayAgency.com, right there, you can get a quote. Auto insurance probably a primary thing for you guys obviously. But I like to see where you do make it fairly simple, and you've got a long list of well-known brands and companies that you represent. So as if somebody has to say, well, I don't know, I really like these guys. You've got just about something for everybody.
We've got quite a selection, yes.
And another thing to notice, a little bit about you, but you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And it says licensed in 2000. And that's going back, is that when your mother?
That's when she started.
She started in on it, and then you took over from there.
I got licensed in 06.
And then right here you can get a quote, and right there, and then stay tuned, everybody. Maybe we can edit into this later. We could cut right where I'm saying this live. We cut in and we'll talk about your new website.
It's coming.
And so how long until that new website's going to be coming out?
Hopefully sometime next week, but that's above my pay grade. I don't always do so well with the technology side, keeping up with that. So,
well, if it's coming in a week, that means it's really close.
It's
because
close,
generally websites are 4, 6, 8, 10, 3 months,
we've
a
been,
year.
Yeah, we've been working on it for a little bit. So,
oh, that's cool. Well, there's the website. Another thing I often try to get into a little bit because it's important. And here this is your Facebook page, right? There it is. So you can see right there a 4.7. Doing a good start on getting some, but obviously if you had made a bunch of people upset, that would be like a 3. Even if you only have a few, if you start off with a short list of reviews as you're building and you're going at 4.7, you've done well to do that. Something else we noticed though, you do have a little page with the Better Business Bureau.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to put that one up on the screen there for everybody to take a look at real quick. But it is good to have a good rating with the Better Business Bureau because, and when you're an A+, that's good. And an A+ because you've done your business the right way. And I noticed that this business is not listed, and that means, and you still got an A+.
Yeah.
Because what I noticed, a lot of people's little trade secret, if you become a client, they tend to favor you a little bit. But to get an A+ when you haven't become a client means you're doing well. Good. So I wanted to make that little note for people. That's very good. So you've got the A+ there. And the last thing I wanted to zoom over to here real quick, and I want to put this up. This is pretty cool because, again, if you're going to get reviews and you've got a 5.0, because as soon as you get one person upset, that automatically takes you down to a 3.
Takes it down. Yeah.
You're starting at a 1. Now you got to average up from a 1.
Sure.
So you've got a 5 here doing a great job. And I want to give everybody a quick, I reviewed the second one on this list. I want to read this for everybody. Is that all right?
Yeah.
I have only ever had great experiences with Calloway Insurance. Any chance I get, I recommend them to anyone. They're honest, fun to talk to, and they're never pushy. Cannot recommend them enough. And to me, that's a high level recommendation because or a review because they weren't just talking about the service you gave them, but what they can see that you've done and really makes a difference for everybody who might need to use your services, and that's pretty cool. Good work.
Well, thank you.
And you've done a great job.
Alyssa that works with me and has worked with me for about 8 years helps make me look good a lot. So she shines more than I do. I can promise you that.
Well, another key to this, and I'm going to throw it back at you, to have good employees means that they have to have had a leader that's put them in position to be good at what they do. And so
we're very fortunate we found another good one last fall. So
given the experience that you have, well, tell me one thing you would say has been a hurdle that you've had to overcome, or on a daily basis, something that you have to overcome when you're dealing with a client. And what is it? Because obviously with your success, you've learned how to overcome whatever that hurdle may be. And that could be something where it's just like, well, they came in expecting this and I had to tell them that. Well, but what was one thing that you normally have to do?
When I first started, I was too young. I hadn't done enough of it. I wish I could have that one back. But now it's just change. All of us are slow to change. And so if they have insurance, most of the time they just think it's a pain to do something different. And sometimes we have to pull the information out of people, and we try to make that experience as easy as possible. We do need some basic information to do a quote, to check it out. But there's so much out there we can find out the square footage a year built. If the house sold not too long ago, we look at the description on the home to see, does it say new roof or electrical panel? So there's a lot of information that we can get from other sources that we don't have to keep asking hundreds and hundreds of questions. So we just try to make it as easy as possible.
Well, what is it, if there's one thing you would say that really sets you apart? If you can name one thing, because obviously the success you've had, I'm looking, and we talked a little about the other things you got. Wow, you've done some really cool stuff. What is it you think that has helped you to separate yourself from the crowd? Because there's a decent list of, and now they're trying to systematize it. You don't have to talk to a human.
Oh, yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. But what is it you think that really sets you apart?
Relatable. There's, we own a couple of small businesses. We've got rental property. There's I've got kids. The staff. There's things that we can make connections on, just about all the way across the board. Again, a byproduct of a lot of our clients is they've become acquaintances, whether with myself or staff. End up becoming friends. It's been a great experience.
What do you do for fun in St. Louis? If you had to say, this is the fun thing I love to do in St. Louis, that really, I guess, makes it fun for you.
Yeah.
The things you enjoy that make it neat for you to be part of what we do in our community. What would be the one thing that you would say?
So again, I live on the metro side, or the Illinois side. So we spend a lot of weekends over at a motorcycle track outside of Belleville, BET, and it's fantastic. But the Hill is such good food. I mean, we're always coming back over, and having an office in South County. I mean, you just 10 minutes cutting some back roads, and all of a sudden you're at some great restaurants. So I don't do a ton of Cardinal games, but we definitely make it to a couple a year.
Adam, thank you for being on the show today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having
Calloway
me.
Insurance Agency, 636-305-8320. Calloway, it's Calloway Agency. I remember I played baseball with a guy named Colby Calloway. I think it was more traditional, but it's Calla.
Yeah.
But just so people know that you get that right, Calloway Agency, everybody knows how to spell that, .com.
My mom's tagline was a call away.
A Callow, I like that.
But I can't pull it off like she could, or
Well, ladies get more attention from
know.
us guys, and
Yeah.
when they look and say, "There's a pretty girl talking about something," I'll listen to that. But good work. Appreciate you coming on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Calloway Insurance Agency. Get a hold of my friend Adam here. He's got a great team that can really help you, and make sure that you're properly, thoroughly, and completely covered. Because if you're not, I can personally tell you, because I've been through the situation where people I knew were not, and I saw what happened. I happen to be fortunate to have the proper coverage, and I'm glad I did, because it made a big difference in my life. And a lot of people do not realize how important that is.
I agree.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in again, everybody. Stay tuned for more. We'll be back with Your Little Castle show for our next rendition here. Probably coming up in another week from when you saw this one. How about that? We're on every week right now, and we're coming up. Maybe we're going to do 2 or 3 shows a week. It's looking right now, because we've had such great response.
Getting busy.
We appreciate everybody
Yeah.
that does that. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Stay tuned for more. Giddy up.